Happy New Year, everybody! Welcome to my first video of 2025. I truly hope you celebrated 2025 how you wanted and with who you wanted it. I definitely partied my way into 2025. We had a blast, we had dinner, and then there was a party. I kind of wanted to start this year off with some reading. 2 years back I got into reading and I started in late 2022, I think, somewhere in the end of 2022, October maybe. I just was obsessed from then on with books. And I was never a person who read books like in middle school or in high school. We always had to do book reports, which I hated. We had to choose a specific genre. We could only choose from this list of books and we had to make a whole presentation of it. Truth be told, I never read any of my books. I just looked up on a website like the summary and then I kind of made it my own somehow. But I never liked reading because it was mandatory. And now, as a young adult, I am starting to find reading peaceful and very calming. And whenever I don't have anything to do and I don't feel like watching TV or something, I just read and I feel so much better. I am sucked into a story, sucked into somebody else's life. I always imagine myself being the character and then just like, this is me going through this right now. I don't know if you guys do it, I always put myself in the book. Anyways, in 2023, I read so many books, so many books, and I really started getting into the groove. I think I read a book every week, which is not like a whole lot because I've heard people reading 2 or 3 books a week, which I can't do. In 2023, I wanted to read 52 books. I don't think I got there. I have a list where I keep track of the books I've read, but I don't think I got to 52, but I got close. And then last year, I actually wanted to do it, but I ended up not reading a lot of books. I didn't even end up reading 20 books. I don't know what it was. It just, I wasn't feeling like reading so much and I was just in some other part of my life, I guess. At the end of last year, so many good books started rolling in and I was like, okay, let's get back into the groove, let's get back into reading. And I did. And I read a lot of books at the end of 2024, not so much in the beginning of 2024, but that's okay. Like, I don't have to read. I read because I want to read. So in this video, I am going to go through my 2024 reads and also books I want to read in 2025 because yes, I already know which books I'm going to read in 2025. I also bought some books already just before Christmas because I was just so into reading all of a sudden. Again, we are gonna go over everything I read in 2024, which will not take so long because I only read maybe 17 or 18 books. There's also some books that I didn't finish because I just thought they were not as interesting and I couldn't keep on reading because it was just so boring and it made me not want to read again, ever. And I read like a few of those and then I kind of stopped reading a little bit and then I got one very good book and then, it starts rolling again. So let's get to it. My first book of 2024 was this one, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is the start of the ACOTAR series. And my god, the praise this series has is crazy and I had heard so much about it and I just wanted to try it for myself. And so I started reading this, but then like the first half of the book I was so bored because it was like a lot of world building and a lot of like getting to know everything and everyone, and it was, for me, it was kind of boring because I like some like action and some romance and some, something. And so I almost stopped reading this book because of it. But then the last half of the book was crazy. I could not put it down and I read through it so fast. And my god, I was so obsessed with the characters. And so, of course, I also read A Court of Mist and Fury. This is the second book in the series. This one is my best read of 2024. This book is crazy good. Like, oh my god, I still can't get over this one. I read through this so fast and it's quite a big book. I was just obsessed with Rhys. He is, oh my god, I don't know how to say it, but this one Honestly, it was crazy, and just from the start it was fire, and it stayed fire the whole book. Like, wow, wow, wow. These are kind of the only books I read from the series, and my goal is to complete the ACOTAR series. We're gonna stay in a fantasy genre for now because I have another amazing book series that I read this year, and I cannot get over this story. I am so obsessed with this. I don't think this even needs like an explanation of what it's about, because I think everybody knows it, and it's these two, the Empyrean series, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. This is the first book and this is the second. This book had me gripped from the start. Like the first page, done deal. I will be reading this. I will only be reading this. This will consume me. This book is crazy, crazy good. This year I found that I really like fantasy, because before I only read like romance, I read autobiography, I read like true stories, and it was fun. I liked it, but too much romance is never good. So I was kind of fed up with romance and I wanted something different. And so I got into ACOTAR first, which is fantasy. Absolutely loved it. And then I moved on to Fourth Wing. I love this even more. Honestly, if I had to choose between this series and ACOTAR, I would choose this one. And the third book is coming out soon. I think in a few weeks, 2 weeks maybe. But this one, Iron Flame, I have very mixed feelings about it. There's a lot going on and there's not a lot going on, if you know what I mean. Everything that's written in here is crucial to help you figure out how this world works and how everything is. I prefer to read the first book. So I don't know what the third book is gonna be. I hope it's gonna be a bit more action than this one, although the ending is crazy. This one, the ending, it had me shocked. And there were definitely a few moments where I was holding my breath and didn't know what was gonna happen and wanted to read through the page so bad just to know what was gonna happen. But there were a few good moments in this book. It wasn't as good as the first one, in my opinion. That's kind of it for the fantasy genre. I also read 2 standalone books, just like some cute reads, I guess. And the first one is The House of Eve. It's one of Reese Witherspoon's book pick of the month. And I really liked it. It's a story about 2 women. They live separate lives, but somehow their lives are intertwined, and but they don't know it about each other. So in the end, there's like this connection and it really clicks, which is very cute. And then I also read Someone Else's Shoes by Jojo Moyes. This one, honestly, I truly can't remember what it was about. It was also about 2 women, but honestly, I truly cannot tell you what this was about. Sometimes you're just reading a book and in the moment it feels good and it's fun to read, but then you would pick it up months later and you would think like, what happened in this book? I don't even know the storyline about this book. I know there's 2 women again, and I think their lives get also intertwined somehow. I wanted to read classic novels, so I typed in Google the top 100 classic novels, and there were so many lists. Anyways, so many classic novels to read. I just found a particular interest in Jack London, and so I read The Call of the Wild and White Fang. And I was not expecting to love these books so much. It's crazy how much I loved reading these, and not even hard to read because they're pretty dated. So White Fang is about a wild animal that gets domesticated, and this truly broke my heart. I read this first before I read The Call of the Wild, and this truly broke my heart. Like, humanity is so cruel. How they teached him to behave, and they would hit him with a bat and everything, and it was just so sad. But he's such a strong character that he got through it and he ended up with a very happy life. The Call of the Wild is about a domestic dog who is intrigued by the wild and ends up like hanging around with wolves. And then also this year I read a classic childhood story. I read the story of Peter Pan. We have all seen the Disney movie. I've seen all of the live action ones. I'm always intrigued about the origin story. Like, what is the real story of that Disney movie, because Disney tends to like romanticize every story, which of course is logical because it's made for children. I was shocked with this story, and truly this book made me not like Peter Pan. I found that Peter Pan is actually a villain, because the thing that got me was like, we all know the Lost Boys, and the Lost Boys, they don't have any families or anything, and Peter Pan would pretend to give them food. So half of the time the kids weren't even eating food, so they were starved. The Lost Boys also have their doors to get into the lair, and apparently Peter Pan cut off like hands and fingers and toes to make them fit through the door. Like, it was crazy. I was so shocked. I truly felt like Peter Pan was a villain, and he stole the kids because he didn't want to be alone and he doesn't want to grow up. He's very irresponsible. I was just shocked. That's all I can say. It's all I'm going to say. All right, let's get into some self-help books. In 2024, for a certain amount of time, I wasn't feeling like myself. I was very depressed. I was very confused, not knowing what I wanted with my life. I was going through a quarter-life crisis, I'm pretty sure. And I just was so lost. And in June, I think, my friend and I went to London for a little girls' getaway for, I think, 2 or 3 days. When we arrived at the train station, we hung out a little bit around there, and I found a bookstore. And there were 2 books that were on my wish list that I wanted to read. And the first one was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. My God, this book got me through whatever I was going through. I was also struggling with my YouTube channel, and then I read this book and everything made sense again. Before I read this book, my creativity was just gone. I would wake up, my brain was like my brain was dead. Nothing was going. I didn't have any fun ideas for YouTube videos. I just was so drained of energy that I didn't feel like doing YouTube for a while. And so I just did like 1 video a month to take off the pressure. But then after I read this book, my creative juices started flowing like crazy. And it also taught me that if I truly want something, I have to go for it, and I shouldn't give up that easily. And I just have to keep going. You can't control everything. I'm a control freak. I'm a crazy control freak. I'm a perfectionist. And if something is not going the way I want to, or something is not performing as I want to, I truly start to doubt myself and critique myself, and I'm like, oh my God. Sometimes as soon as I posted a video, I would rewatch it and I was like, no, that's not good. Oh my God, I should have done this, I should have done that. And I'm just like crazy. But the people around me truly told me like, you're doing great and I really like watching your videos. Also, the comments some of you left under the videos, like, keep going, you're gonna make it, you're doing so good. I just love those little comments, and I don't think you understand how much that does to me. Like, it gives me a boost, and I am so grateful for those people that would leave the sweet comments, and they truly get me going. The second self-help book I really wanted to read was this one, Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. A chapter that I truly liked, like one of my favorites, was inspiration. That chapter also was aligned with like my creativity, and I also read this book while I was not feeling so creative, and I read the chapter Inspiration, and all of a sudden I felt so seen, and like it shook me to my core. So I dabbled into poetry. 2 years ago I got my first poetry book, and it was called Dear Self, and it was also about like accepting yourself and everything, also kind of dark and uplifting in a way. When I read that book, I was hooked on poetry. I haven't read a lot of poetry after that, but this year I read my second poetry book, and it's called Sea of Strangers by Lang Leaf. If I'm pronouncing the name correctly, I'm sorry if I don't. This one I saw, I think it was it Khloe Kardashian or Kendall Jenner who posted a chapter from this book on her stories, I think. And that poem resonated so much with me, and it really got to me that I started searching up what poetry book this was, and it was this one. I absolutely love this book. There's a few poems that I truly liked. The one I can remember is called Keys to the Kingdom, I think, but I don't really know. Oh, it's the first one. I will read it to you. This is one of my favorite chapters. If a boy asks you for your name, don't give it to him. He will say it back to you in a voice like gravel and honey, and he will crave his hands all rough and sweet. But you're not the kind of girl who builds her house from sticks. You're a fortress, stubborn and strong. Do not give away the keys to the kingdom to anyone less than a king. Oh my god. Now on to a cute, cozy read. This is also a series, and the first book in the series is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. This is the first book of the Dream Harbor series, and I just love it. Honestly, if Gilmore Girls were a book, this would be it. I mean, the cover, like, this is so cute. So, those were my 2024 reads. I read 12 books. I started 17 books. I stopped reading 4 books. The 5th book, The Creative Act, I am just sporadically reading. We're gonna pick up the slack this year. I found so many cool books that I want to read. Last year I started to make this, which I found so cute. It has all the books I read in 2024, and the empty ones that I did not color in are the ones that I did not finish. I truly love this, and it's such a cute summary of everything I read in 2024, and I also started doing it for 2025. Alright, let's get into some books I will be reading in 2025. First off, we are going to finish the ACOTAR series. I got all of the books now. These 3 I didn't have yet. I bought them recently, and I am definitely gonna finish the ACOTAR series this year. Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. This one, it was in the top 10 at the bookstore of Goodreads, and it has a very intriguing cover. I don't know what it is, but I want to read it. I'm also gonna continue reading the Dream Harbor series by Laurie Gilmore. I just finished The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore in one day, and right now I am reading The Christmas Tree Farm, which I will probably finish also today. Very cute reads. Love the covers of the book, and I cannot wait to read the 4th book. At the end of last year, the movie Wicked came out, and I was obsessed. I have never seen a musical. I definitely want to someday, but I saw the movie and I was obsessed. And then I think right before the movie came out, I was in the bookstore and I caught my eyes on this one. This book is gorgeous. It's a special edition, and it has the map of Oz right here. I've been dying to read this one. And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I have never read any of her works, but I saw this in a bookstore and I was so intrigued. And this is the best-selling crime novel of all time, so I must read it. This is a very special edition because it has the solution right here in an envelope. Then there is a classic I wanted to read, 1984 by George Orwell. I've had this book for a while, but it's just been sitting on my shelf and I haven't started reading this. The Secret History by Donna Tartt has also been on my shelf for a year. And then also a little non-fiction book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. And to continue my little tradition to write down the books I've read, I started coloring a new one. And I truly want to fill this whole page, which fits 20 books, and then I also want to fill another page. I already wrote down The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore and The Christmas Tree Farm because I'm sure I'm gonna finish it soon. Those were all the books I read in 2024 and the books I will be reading in 2025. Should you have any recommendations for books I should read or series I should read, please leave them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what people are reading. Also, comment down below what your favorite books are. I hope you liked this video and I will see you on the next one. Bye!